Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Chainlink and its valuation against Bitcoin. We're going to be looking at a continuation of the bubble development that we observed last year. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So if you guys remember, last year we discussed a link Bitcoin bubble. Okay, and part of the general idea was, and again, knowing where you are in a bubble is always somewhat relative. If we were to say this is more or less the mean, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, you can see it here. Main stages of a bubble, takeoff, the first sell-off. Let's just call this line more or less the mean. Then it goes into this new paradigm, dead cat bounce, return to normal, and then into despair. And we said that we thought, I said that there was a generally good generally good idea that it could be that this is our despair region. And so far it seems like that may be in fact the case. Now when I published this video, it actually got a lot of flack because obviously people said, well, what about it being too risky not to hold and whatnot. And it's funny because my intention for the video was to show how this is an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity, but the emotions of watching, one of the altcoins that you hold capitulate is obviously not a good feeling. But remember, when people are scared and market selling their link because of fear and stuff like that, then it could just be that we're in that final stage of that bubble. And so this would be our return to normal in a sense, right? If we go back and look at our bubble, you have the despair and then you have a return to the mean. So we could argue that this is our mean, and drawing this line is up for interpretation. Obviously you could easily redraw this a number of different ways, but if this is our mean, then we in fact are back on course, right? We're back kind of on course. And I don't know if we're going to go immediately back into a major bubble or if it'll chop like this for a while or what will happen. But it just goes to show you that yet again, when we talked about this being our despair phase or our theoretical despair phase, so far it does in fact seem to be that there is some evidence to show that is the case. One of the things we talked about too is we are a month out from let's go to our daily candles. It was a month ago when Link capitulated to $8. Okay, so it's the 23rd of January, and on the 24th of December, so this is the 23rd of December, so this is a month ago. We're up over 200% from that time over the last 31 days. So this is that final capitulation against Bitcoin that we saw. So this was December 23rd. If we go over here, you can see we're right around that time frame. December 22nd, December 23rd, even taking us out even until January against Bitcoin. But that was what was ultimately our despair region, and now we're simply trying to get back on track. So it's a good lesson, of course. I think it's a decent lesson to say, yes, there's risks involved. In any cryptocurrency, there are risks involved, and there are going to be times where we see capitulations of coins that we hold, okay? And it's all about managing your risk. As we said on the channel, right? I was not buying up here. I was selling Link to Bitcoin, and we talked about this on the premium list a lot, into thecryptoverse.com. And then when we came down here, I was buying some. However, some of my buys, I started buying at 7 to 8. Some of my buys went as high as close to $12, $11, upper $11. And then watching it go down to $8 very briefly did not scare me. But basically it says, okay, this is an opportunity, because I believe in the long-term vision here of Link, and that there's going to be these movements in the market that will make your stomach turn sideways. But at the end of the day, there's two different mindsets. There's accumulation mindset, and then whatever you want to call the other thing. But there's two different mindsets, whether you want to, you accumulate and then you hold, you accumulate and then you maybe think about taking profits if that's your thing. If it's not your thing, that's fine. But that's the general idea, is there's two different mindsets to have. And historically, to do the best, you have to go against the herd, because the people that were buying Link at these capitulations over here at $8, $9, and $10 were already up almost 3x. I did not catch any exactly on the wick all the way down to $8. I did get a lot in here, but still, that's 3x. And if you're one of those people that say waited until Link got to the prior all-time high, you're nowhere close to that. So it shows you yet again, the saying that we talk about. The quote is, bear market or bull markets can make you money, but bear markets can make you rich. And it's the idea of buying when it really doesn't feel like it's a good time to buy, but the data suggested otherwise. And again, on this channel, we stick to the data. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's go for 100,000 subscribers if you also like to stick to the data. Now, Link has now climbed to $25. So we're currently 1/4 of the valuation of a $100 Link. This is fairly impressive. One of the things we've discussed are time frames between peaks, and we need to keep in mind that while there is a decent chance that Link trends up in the short term, that doesn't necessarily it doesn't mean we would be sad if it didn't. Maybe you would be, but one of the things you can look at, as we've talked about, is and measuring peak to peak isn't always that useful. But if you do measure peak to peak, the peaks here were 532 days apart, with a 200% increase from peak to peak, and this peak to peak was around 400 days apart, with a 300% increase between peak to peak. So again, what have we seen so far? We've seen shortening times between peaks, and the return from peak to peak has actually gone up 200%, 300%. And we've sort of speculated, and again, it's a very dubious extrapolation, dubious speculation. Don't try this at home. But if we said, okay, well, what if we continue that and go up over 300 days, and we go up, say, 400% or so? Well, that would actually get us to that elusive $100 Link. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen tomorrow, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen this year. However, one of the contentions I've always said on this channel, I've always said it, if you watch the channel long enough, you'll have been here every step of the way. I've contended that Link is simply too risky not to hold. Now, when you hear that, and if you don't own any Link, and you see it at $25, and you're like, oh, well, I mean, should I go buy it? This is your decision, right? This is your decision. You have to make that your own decision. I'm not buying Link right now. I was very clear on the channel, when it was $7, $8, $9, $10, $11, and even getting close to $12, that I was accumulating Link. It was not financial advice, but I was just saying, I am picking it up. But the purpose of this channel is to never chase pumps, right? It's the purpose. It's to accumulate before it happens, but never to actually chase them. Because when you chase them, it puts you at a disadvantage. It puts you at a huge disadvantage. And what I mean by that is, with Link at $25, I hope it continues to soar, much higher than where it currently is. But if you stop buying at, say, $12, which is around where I stopped, then you're at a point now where, if it corrects by 30% or something, who cares, right? Who cares? If you're at a point where you want to go quote unquote all in on Link at $25, and if it corrected 20% tomorrow, then it would put you at a disadvantage. So you have to figure out what your goals are. Are your goals a quick flip or something? Because certainly there's a huge amount of risk involved in that. Looking at a $25 Link when it was $8 a month ago. With that said, I do hope Link trends much higher. But the idea again is to take the appropriate risk. Again, it's not about the return; it's about the risk-adjusted return. And accumulating Link between, say, $7 to $12 puts us at an advantage to then people coming in now for the first time wondering if the momentum can continue. And believe me, I hope it does. If you are buying Link at $25, I hope you see amazing returns. Because I still have, I still have a very large position of Link, and I still want it to want to watch it go up. But again, hopefully this is a good lesson whenever we see something like this in the future. When we see Link dropping through and going into these despair regions, remember, it's that's the fear. It causes people to sell, and then they're basically selling it to what will now be the new smart money of maybe the next Link Bitcoin bubble. Because, as we said before, the money that was selling up here in the last one was also the money accumulating in this region. Okay? And then in the same manner, wherever this bubble takes us, this is the smart money. This is the smart money. And there's nothing wrong with living through each bubble. If you're just continuously DCAing Link because you believe in it long term and you have this multi-year outlook, again, this is a different strategy. But in terms of my strategy, which is never let a good bubble go to waste, the smart money comes in over here, and it did not mean we weren't going to trend lower. There's definitely a universe that exists where theoretically we would have broken down below and gone lower. And the idea in that scenario is great. It's another opportunity, and it can be somewhat confusing by, well, if you look at say these types of moves where it had this major parabolic move and then it came down, is this considered smart money when it ultimately trended much further down? Well, this is why we also have the risk metric, which we talk about. The risk metric, it tries to help us identify when the market's very overheated, when it's not. It gets rid of our bad intuition of what's going on, because a lot of times people will say things like, Link isn't moving or something like that when it hasn't moved for a couple days. But then you take a look back and it's moved more than 3x in 31 days. So again, time in crypto can seem it's certainly jaded, right? The amount of time that passes, it certainly seems like it can be a lot longer between these moves, because at the end of the day, the September or the August peak was not that long ago. It just simply was not. It was less than half a year ago when everyone was crazy about Link at $20, and now it's come back down and it's gone past that. But this time, because it was able to establish support here, it doesn't make the $20 mark quite as risky, because it's reestablished, hopefully, a new normal. So hopefully this makes sense. If we go back and look, I'll overlay these exponential fit bands again. We've come back home. So at least Link has come back home to the exponential fit bands. Of course, we know that these are somewhat dubious and they might not always hold. But one of the things we speculated on before we made this major turnaround was that maybe, we said before, we don't know how Link will behave in a bull market. We simply do not know. We know how it behaves in a bear market. We know how it behaves in an accumulation phase, and it's one of the ones that has put in the best returns. How does it behave when Bitcoin's in a bull market? Up until now, we didn't know. What have we seen so far? Well, during a bear market and accumulation phase, we saw Link bubbles against Bitcoin one after another that came back to our accumulation phase. This was arguably the first time we've seen a major bubble of Bitcoin against Link. Okay? So maybe the idea that we presented a few weeks ago was, maybe this is just a Bitcoin bubble against Link, and we'll come back up and continue on. Obviously, it's too early to call whether this trend will continue. I know that at some point it won't, but we're back in it for now. So we'll see ultimately what happens, and if maybe we can just establish a new what the normal is again, reestablish that, or maybe we'll just slice through this like butter and put in a new top. So if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel in the description below. As a reminder, we do have the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. You get access to weekly reports, weekly videos, a risk dashboard that includes Link, Link against USD, Link Bitcoin, Link Ether. You get access to a Telegram alerts channel, a Telegram chat room, a whole lot more. Make sure you guys check it out into thecryptoverse.com. There's also a lifetime deal. You can check that out in the description below. That will be ending in about 1 week. Make sure you subscribe. Let's get to 100,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.